Can you?
Sure,
All right,
absolutely. Can I share my screen, or do you have screenshots for me?
you can share yours. Let
Okay.
me get out of that for me.
No, you're fine.
Alicia Averett
is now exiting.
Okay.
Debbie Spears
Is
Is
now
it on?
exiting.
Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Sarah
Is now joining.
There we go.
Okay. So first thing I'm going to talk about is our data viz dashboards. So we have a tool where everybody can use. Now you do have to actually get rights to it. You have
Is
to
now
go be
joining.
able to ask your system admin to add you on there. But once they do, you will have access to school level or district level, depending on what level you're in, data for behavior, attendance, and demographics. I'll start with
Is now
behavior. We
exiting.
have this is the most and I'm showing screenshots because there are PII on this, obviously, and anybody using it needs to be careful of that. But the behavior analysis is one of the most used views that we have, and it breaks down your attendance. And like I said, this is an overview, so it'll tell you how many instances, behavior events you have per
Is
month,
now
per
exiting.
day of the week, per time of the day, and then you can
Is now
actually
exiting.
click on these things to get a view of the student individually. So actually, I can actually go in here
Is
and
now joining.
download a data file for this. Let's say I just wanted to look at 1 month, and it will give me all of the actual oops, my link is not working. Sorry, technology is great when it works, right? But it'll give you a spreadsheet of all of the information and to the detail to the student level data, which is great. But again, this is a great view to look at of the overall. So we have several different ones. Those are the analysis. This is the student event analysis, which breaks down student events in your school, and it will actually give you kind of like a top 20 list, I guess, of your students in your schools that are struggling the most with their behavior. We also break it down by resolution, and then they can compare
now
the
exiting.
two. Some of the ones that we have.
Is
So I
now
want to talk about
exiting.
attendance. So we have attendance as well, and also again, it's a breakdown with your entire school, and then it breaks it down by day of the week, by month, by grade, everything. And I'll show you your chronically absent, everything all in one screen. It's really, really easy to use. And I will, let's get out of here and stop sharing my screen. But I will go ahead into the chat room, and I will put a link on there for anybody that wants to come to me. I don't want to put this as a data viz meeting because this is Damien's meeting, but I will go ahead and put a link on here for those that want to look more into data viz and want to contact me about it. Okay, and then Troy wanted to talk a little bit about one of the reports, the student summary report.
Everyone doing today? All right, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm gonna share the screen and take it over if that's okay.
Yep, I stopped sharing.
Okay. So I have this pulled up. The best way to do it is you go into your Infinite Campus, you click on Kentucky State Reporting, edit reports, and then you go down to
Is now exiting.
then you go down to the student summary report. This is very useful, like Damien stated earlier. It gives you one sheet, one screen where you got the behavior, attendance, and grades all located. So I believe for counselors, it would be extremely useful. You would select whatever grade the individual was in, the name, and then you would want to move this over to both. And I have a screenshot right here of this is what the output would be. Now this scrolls down. I don't have it set up to where you can actually do that, but this will give you, this first section is the attendance summary, and then you have the grade summary right here. And right below that, you have the behavior. So it's really simple and self-explanatory for anybody. But I mean, if you have any questions
Troy,
or anything, oh
Troy,
yes.
we can't see your screen. I'm sorry. I only see
Oh,
the
you
Infinite
can't?
Campus part. Yeah,
Okay, hold
there it
on.
is.
You can see it now. It came up. Okay. So yes, the top you have the attendance summary, and right below that you have the grading summary. And then where I'm unable to scroll down, but right below this grading is the behavior. So like Damien said, it is really self-explanatory and is extremely helpful. And this gives you a lot of data right at your fingertips, really simple for you to be able to move forward and work in different ways with your students. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate and ask or reach out, because we are definitely here to help you. But I just did want to take the brief few moments to show you all this.
All right. Kim, Troy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And again, I put my information on the chat room. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me and talk about data visualization or any of the Infinite Campus reports that Damien put on the slide, then
Beverly
we will be happy
Martin.
to talk to you about it.
Is now joining.
All right. Okay, so now you've got, so now you've heard about FERPA.
Kate Thacker.
You've
Is
heard
now
different ways
exiting.
for you to connect with students. You've got some different Infinite Campus tools that you can use. You know that you should focus on proactive school counseling. You know that you should collaborate with different people on your teams. So next, we're gonna just talk about different questions from the community. What I did was organize the comments and questions that you guys had when you signed up for this webinar. So I'm going to show the screen, and then I've got Joe Bargione, Kate Barron from Bullitt County, and Michelle are going to help answer these questions. Just so you know, we do have a hashtag that we would love for Kentucky counselors to use. We really are working hard. You continually hear me saying that it's about school counselors, school social workers, school psychologists, friskies. We're really trying hard to show that collaboration among our groups is everything. We're all in it for kids. We're all in it for providing social and emotional health, among other things, to our students. So we are all in it together. So if you have great ideas, if you are doing something really unique and really fun for your families and your students, please post that, tweet that, put it on Facebook, and then use the hashtag that you see here. All right. So I'm going to show you real quick. We're going to go through some of these questions. Okay. So you should be able to see that. Joe, Michelle, Kate, if you are here, let's see. Let's start with
Damien.
this one. So how can we best ensure that we're providing all the services that we can? So Kate, let's start with you as an elementary counselor.
I'm not sure that there is an answer to that question. I mean, this is uncharted territory, and I do think we are all just trying to do the best job that we can right now. For me, what I have found helpful is list.
Lauren Clark.
Is now
Make,
exiting.
making list of all the kiddos that I want to make contact with, checking in on them, whether that is through email, through chat, through some of the Google Classrooms, but just trying to keep a list and keep track of everything. For parents, I've just created newsletters that I've been attaching to our Facebook page. And just trying to make it very well known that if you need something, I am here.
Jessica.
is now exiting.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Michelle, Joe, anything to add?
If I could, yeah, this is Joe. Just to follow up on Kate, I think what's really important is that we have creating those lists of students that when you showed that slide earlier, where you came,
Is now
where,
exiting.
where you had about 10 different children, you asked them, put everybody's mind, those kids. So making a list of those students. Then the other thing, what you also want to think about is, are there any students at my school who may have had a recent event, tragedy or an event in their lives? So for example, a recent death of a grandparent or something else like that, where that emotion can come up pretty quickly under these stressful situations. So I think that's kind of a really important piece too. Then other couple things to think about as we're working with our students is a lot of them will probably have a sense of hopelessness where they feel like they have no
Is
control,
now exiting.
where they have no control of their life. So one of the things we want to do is, as you're doing your conferencing with them over the internet, is trying to give them a sense of empowerment, and giving them things to do will help them deal with that sense of hopelessness. You may also see, especially with the younger students, if you're at the elementary level like Kate is you may see some aggression in their language and their vocabulary. So just be mindful of that. That's also another thing you have to be. And then also as the adults who are working with these kids, I really liked your slide where it talked about your collaboration slide, where some of the things, key components were like communication, teamwork, but then also the one I was really thinking about was the motivation one. I think because we don't know how long this is going to last, we probably need to think about strategies both for a sprint and a marathon, not only for our students, but also for ourselves. Because, the old saying, if we're not at our best, we can't be our best. So I think
Is now joining.
So I think it's really important that not only are we taking care of our students and our families, but also ourselves, and think in terms of what strategies do I have for the sprint part of this race, but then also the marathon part of this race.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Damien,
How can we provide? Go ahead, Michelle.
if I could just add to that, I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And this is something that we are all learning at too. And we're going to do the best that we can in trying to figure this out. Something to keep in mind is to go on and set a schedule for yourself, just like we are asking students and parents.
Unknown participant is now
so that we can stay focused on our work and what it is that we need to do. And when you think about your pyramid of students that you need to support at all three tiers, you probably already have those kiddos in mind that you know where they're going to plug in at and which ones need additional support. Earlier, Damien he tried to show this online virtual pin board. I'm going to share my screen and see if I can't get it to show you real quick. Give me just a moment.
Susan Dalton
is now exiting.
Okay, are you guys able to see my screen? Damien, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, on this virtual school counseling, one, it's to know that this is an unnerving time and we all have a lot of questions, but we're going to be able to grow professionally together as we learn and share from one another. So this is something that you can create in your districts and your schools, even in your co-ops that you have throughout the state. So on each page, you can click on, let's go, for example, school counseling blogs. And so what it is I'm asking my counselors to do is consider putting a blog together. Here are some platforms. Here are some counseling exemplars from blogs that they can visit. But then I also want them to add to some of these. So if we look at scheduling, how can we adjust the way that we're doing scheduling with our students now that we're at the end of the year? And this looks like this could go on for a while. So how do we get those students scheduled that we didn't think about before, or that weren't able to get completed before the break happened? And so these are just ideas that people can add to. So as you're trying to think of ways that you can schedule students or that you can maybe create video lessons. So if you were going to go in and do a counseling core lesson, what used to be referred to as classroom guidance, how could you record that and send it out to your students so that they could still participate and still get that tier 1 service from you as a school counselor during this time as we're shut in?
Hey, Michelle.
Yes.
How come you did not include my blog in there?
Kate, you will have to send that to me and I will add your blog. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. So next question. What are other middle and high school counselors doing at this time to provide services due to shutdown? So this is really opened up to anybody in the field. You can put that in the chat box. What are you doing to provide services for your students that we may not have already mentioned? Okay, for the panel, one of the questions was, what if students don't have computers? We're already seeing some districts trying to troubleshoot through that. So some districts are literally providing Chromebooks to kids at their homes. We also suggest there most likely is a cell phone in the home, so that would be another option as well. It's obviously not ideal, but sometimes that's all we have.
Damien, this is Joe.
Yeah.
Also with the technology piece, not only bringing that technology into the home, but then they also may need internet access, and so what you may want to do is check with your local internet provider in your community, because I think there are some around the state that even though you're not a paying customer, that they may make exceptions, because if there's a child in the home, they know they're doing the NTI days. So I think whatever community you're living in, and if you know your internet providers, you may want to check ahead of time to see, will they make an exception to allow folks with children in the homes to have access to the internet using their provider.
And one of the things that I have really loved doing is just calling the families. You won't always get an answer, but I'm on day 3 now, and I've pretty much spoken
Unknown
to
participant
every kiddo.
is now exiting.
And they love getting that phone call and just taking a minute to say, hey, how's it going? What do you need? What can I do for you? A lot of the older kids think it's incredibly weird to talk to their school counselor on the phone, so they keep it short. But it's just nice to reach out to them and hear their voice.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A lot of parents are kind of used to getting phone calls when something bad happens, and that's it. So having that positive phone call to just say, I have a special relationship with your child. I really care about him, and I just wanted to check in, I think can go a long way with families. Thank you.
And Damien, to kind of think about, some people are a little leery and anxious to call homes from their cell phones or for their home phone. They just want to cross that line and giving out their personal information. Google does have a platform. It's called Google Voice that you can sign up for. Right. When you Google Voice, it allows you to have a distinct number that you can share with your students and families that they can either call or text. And it's going to be routed to your home or cell phone, but you're not going to be sharing that number out with those that you serve. So that's always a great option. You can go to Google and just type in Google Voice, and there will be lots of videos that come up and instructions to walk you through how to use that service.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Okay, we had a question from a school social worker. How do you maintain confidentiality with HIPAA as an LCSW? And there was actually an email that was just sent out to school social workers that referenced several laws. So if you want to email me personally, I can offer that as well.
Exiting.
All right. Yes.
Another app that's HIPAA compliant and the FERPA is DoxyMe. The Doxy.me that was on the original KSTA. I looked at it yesterday. It's really cool. It's set up like telehealth with a waiting room and everything, just like Zoom. But I think
Yeah, and
it goes a step farther with encryption.
yes. So I looked at that one as well.
Megan Houston.
I was really impressed with it.
Is now joining.
The only concern that our attorneys had was just whether or not that if the district doesn't kind of allow that, then there was a little bit of a concern there. So they wanted to make sure that you used platforms provided by the
Rebecca.
district.
Is
All right.
now exiting.
Okay, so looking for suggestions for the elementary level. So Kate, this is all you. What else can you say to elementary counselors just for them?
I mean, I'm no expert. So what I've been doing
Is now exiting.
as I have come across these resources, I shared on the chat about one of the newsletters I just sent home. I send it out via email and then I send it out via Facebook. And it just goes into resources for parents and for kids. Not necessarily all counseling related, but some of them are, zoos that do virtual tours, suggestions for ways to add movement to your day. Where can kids find free books? What are some other things that kids could be doing and still learning that aren't necessarily part of their regular routine? I have also started using my YouTube page, creating short, funny videos for kids, either about how to stay safe, wash your hands. Later today, I'm uploading one about social media.
Unknown participant is now exiting.
Very concerned about kids having this extra time on their hands to TikTok and Instagram. So I just want to give them a little bit of an update and some information that I hope will be helpful.
That's good.
Centervention is perfect for elementary school kids who need some social skills. It's an online computer game. You can get a couple of free licenses with your school ID. But even if you don't have licenses for the games, they have downloadable worksheets and activities that have just been incredibly helpful and, more importantly, incredibly easy to put together. I had a little bit of notice when our schools were getting shut down, so I was able to create a folder for each of my counseling kids with some activities. And I've just been calling them and saying, hey, how's it going? And then in our
Is now
district,
exiting.
we have a bus that is making the rounds every day to collect work and to drop off more work. And so that's how they turn it in when they're done. I get it from the bus driver, and then the next day I'll send them out something. I have a Google form that kids can fill out if they want to schedule a video conference. And that's been a ton of the video conferencing is fun.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing. So that Google form, you can do that. You can send it out to your families. You can send it out through email, put it on your website, put it on your social media. Kids can sign up for an appointment, and then you can send them a link to join that virtual call. One of the questions came in, and it said, I'm a first-time non-tech savvy counselor, and I want to record some videos like Kate's talking about. One thing I would recommend is that you use like a Google Hangout or a Microsoft Teams like we're using. Excuse all the notifications. You won't have them when you schedule this meeting with yourself. But schedule a meeting literally with yourself and then just hit record. You can record that. It'll send you a link.
Is now exiting.
It'll send you a link, and then you can upload that link to Google Drive or YouTube, and then you can send that video out. Kate, I know that you might have some other tools. What else do you suggest there?
So I filmed my first video. I'm not
Megan,
tech
Houston.
savvy either. I filmed my first video just on my
Is
cell
now
phone.
exiting.
And then pretty much how I Google things is video creator easy. And the first one that came up was
Juanita Hagen.
I
Is
forget
now
what
exiting.
it was called, but it was very, very simple, very, very easy.
Sarah Styles.
Is now exiting.
And then I have also been utilizing my school counseling Facebook page to share interventions with, not necessarily interventions, but like neat ideas or activities that you can use or you can send out to your families. On my I have been every day, not today, obviously. We put it off till 3. I am Facebook living and reading a book to all of our students.
Oh, so cool. Love that.
Most of the authors have given permission for you to do this. You might want to double check with specific authors. And then I have a couple of projects up my sleeve for tomorrow and next week where like I'm just sending something out to the school and I say, I want you to draw a picture that has a turtle, a sun, and a big mountain. And then they can just draw whatever picture comes to mind with those 3 things and then post them up on Facebook. Just a way to keep the community involved, keep it a little lighthearted and fun, and keep those relationships going.
Yeah.
We're also mailing postcards home.
Love it. All right, Joe, this next question is for you. What is the best way to provide help for anxiety during this time?
I think giving them a sense of control, and they need to recognize what some of those symptoms of anxiety will look like in them. So with some of the younger kids, they may report problems like having butterflies. So what you'll have to do with them is giving them some words to use to identify how anxiety feels to them, and then giving them some strategies, and then you modeling those strategies. So it might be like deep breathing exercises. So if you have an elementary student, maybe what you could do is if you had like a balloon, right? Like a deep breathing activity, where this is the way we're going to practice our breathing. So what you would do is take one of those little plastic balloons, blow it up, right? And that's taken in, that's pushing out, that's taken in the with the air, and then releasing the air slowly. So that's actually a visual model for them on how to do deep breathing exercises. Another strategy with some of the students dealing with anxiety is there's a sensory piece to that. So sometimes, and some of the OTs are really good about this, the occupational therapists, that having like deep pressure, like on their thighs,
Gordon Johnson.
having deep pressure on their
Is
thighs
now exiting.
could be something really good
Jill
with that.
Chloe.
And so just doing those things, trying to model it, especially
Is now exiting.
if you have a video that you might want to look to see, like some easy things to do with children who might be anxious. But the first thing is letting them know it's okay to be anxious, okay? And it's pretty typical for young people because these are unusual times. So that's a typical reaction for many of our students. So that normalizes their anxiety, okay? And then getting the words to be associated with that, letting them talk about it, and then doing some modeling, like as I mentioned with the deep breathing, taking out a balloon and show them, let's do this deep breathing exercise using the balloon. And just allowing them, affirming their feelings and just letting them know that you're there for them.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So Michelle, this one could be for you. The question is, how do we track my principal, our district counselors, et cetera? So many different ways to track an NTI. What is the recommendation that you have other than the Infinite Campus documentation that we spoke about earlier?
Absolutely. So that's a great question because we want to make sure that we're tracking our interventions and the times that we meet with kids. Something something that we use here in JCPS is we use a Google form. So on our Google form, we're actually going to fill out what type of services that we provided. You can customize Google Forms however you want them to. And then at the end of our NTI, you actually be able to go in and look at graphs and look at students that you've served. You can even do pre and post tests with kids if you're offering lessons with them. So, try to think outside of the box of what we typically do with tracking. But my biggest recommendation is to either do something on Google Form, but do not put student sensitive information on there. So you don't want to be listing student names or identifying factors. You can use their initials with birthdays or their Infinite Campus state ID, but you're not going to want to put student names on there. But then also using that Infinite Campus tab, that is a great tool that we have that we don't seem to utilize a whole lot within our state.
Yeah, thank you. What are duties, and this can be for anybody, you can put this in the chat box, but what are duties being assigned to counselors in other counties right now? So does your district say during this time you must do X, Y, and Z? If so, just put that in the chat box, please. I think that many counselors would be interested to see that. All right, this question, would it be appropriate to call individual students on the telephone, or should we limit phone conversations to parents only? Again, we would strongly suggest that you start with the parent, get that parent permission verbally, and then seek that documentation later, and then ask to speak with the child if permission is given.
Yeah, I mean, that's great in elementary school because we don't know we probably do know which kids have cell phones, but we don't have their numbers. So we just call the parent and say, hey, can I talk to so-and-so? And then there have been times where the parent says, well, here's their personal cell phone. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. I have 3 kids that are 4 and under. I'm not sure I'll be ready for that when elementary comes. I'm sure there'll be a lot of pressure though.
Never getting a cell phone. They're never getting one.
All right. I'm going to open this up to anybody. Do you have suggestions for resources that students can utilize that are web-based and focus on conflict resolution? Conflict resolution.
What age?
It's just a general question.
Definitely elementary school, Centervention or emotional ABCs. Whenever you're trying to find something like this, I would highly recommend going on Facebook and searching the groups, or going on Pinterest, because there really is a plethora of stuff that's out there, and that is free. Counselor Carey has great resources.
Molly Dixon
is now exiting.
Just a ton.
Okay, thanks. Will you put that Centervention link in the chat box, please?
Yes.
There's also
another option that they're Damien.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another option is through
exiting.
Everfi. Everfi offers free courses to students of all ages. They have some on social emotional learning, all web-based, and like I said, it's free. And they also have conflict resolution. They have just how to build a better citizen, how to collaborate with one another. So they really have a lot of great web-based classes that your students can join, and you can monitor as the teacher for that course.
Yeah, Everfi has been a wonderful partner. All students in Kentucky can have an account. You just have to register them. Thank you, Michelle. Joe, you were saying?
No, just for the counselors, I couldn't hear everything what Kate was saying, but she gave out a website, but there's one called interventioncentral.org, and it's more for the adults, but it lists a variety of behaviors, including conflict resolutions. And so you can go on there, and it gives you strategies on how to help students, resolve conflicts, whether at the elementary level, middle level, or at the high school level. Interventioncentral.org.
Okay, awesome.
Education.com too has had some pretty phenomenal resources out there. Most of them are more academic based, but there are some social, emotional, and character building ones as well. And you can do it by grade level.
Okay, thanks. Kate, well, really, Kate and Michelle, this one's for you. Allison wrote in the chat box. She's created her own Google Classroom page. She's uploaded different videos and activities. Are other elementary school counselors making their activities optional, or are their assignments required?
I think, at least for me, that's kind of up in the air right now. I did send home things with students and told them it needed to be completed.
Lindsay Myers.
When I've been making the phone call, I have
Is now
also
exiting.
been specifically asking how it was coming along. And then my older kiddos, I do have Google Classroom set up for them where we're communicating back and forth. Um, the district has not said whether it will be mandatory or not. My guess will be, they want the academics completed first. But I am keeping up with it with my kiddos and asking for them to provide feedback and bring the materials back to me.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
ours is, we're doing optional as well. Now you can make this fun and throw in some gamification with your counseling lessons and incentivize it and almost have some competitions going between classes on as they complete some of the stuff that you're putting on your Google Classroom. But we're not doing anything mandatory at this time.
All right. To the panel, Kate, Joe, and Michelle, thank you. I'm going to finish up with just a few other resources for you. You guys can feel free to jump in if you have something to add. All right, so just an update where we are in Kentucky for school counselors. What I've been doing this year is we've been focused on new standards. We've also been working on our mission and vision statements and our annual agreements. You guys, in the sessions that I've been holding, counselors have also been focused on their program assessments and their performance rubrics. So we've got a link with the new standards, a draft of the new standards online. Feel free to reach out and I can send you that link. But you can work on all of these things right now during this unusual time. We've also got different resources. Social emotional learning is huge. And I think that this is I will say that this is an opportunity for you to offer different social emotional learning lessons. So we've got elementary lessons, we've got middle and high school lessons here. On the ILP playbooks, we've also got a Google Classroom with lessons. Then there's also bullying and resilience lessons. If you want to learn from other counselors, I've had a chance to, and just people in the field, I've had a chance to interview a few counselors so far. Calvin from JCPS, Joel has his own, he's like a public speaker. He's also an assistant principal in Fayette County. Brian O'Neill talks to you about doing a book study with a small group. Gina is an incredible school counselor out of Western Kentucky. She's got, I think, over 500,000 followers on her blog. And then, of course, you've heard from Kate. So those resources are there. We've also got, in terms of just the coronavirus, we've also got a Padlet. Somebody asked for just a Padlet of resources. So this Padlet is here. It's got different ways for you to speak to parents, ways for you to speak to children. It's got multilingual resources, resources from ASCA. So just full of different resources to help you become informed and also to help you help your kiddos. This is a really, really tough time for seniors right now who are just coming to terms or having to come to terms with the reality that their prom might be lost, that their graduation might be pushed back. So this is a cool letter from just an educator. It's a great letter from an educator who went through something similar during his senior year of high school with Hurricane Katrina. So this might be something that you want to share with some of those people that are really just struggling with the fact that so much for them that they were looking forward to might be lost right now.
Is now exiting.
Self-care is extremely important. We can't say this enough, but you need to really find what works for you. We've all got just different little things that we love, that we enjoy, but certainly strongly suggest getting outside, strongly suggest doing that thing, that healthy thing that really makes you happy. Okay, here's some other ideas on this page here. I've got this Google form for you to fill out, so I'm putting that in the chat box. This is just for your ELA hours. So please fill that out for your ELA. We'll email you back with a certificate. All right, so that's there. And then I want to give a special thanks to Kate, Joe, Kim, Michelle, and Troy for co-facilitating today. I apologize for the technical issues. I appreciate your patience. If there's anything that I can do for you, reach out. If you want me to connect you to one of our speakers today, I can do that as well. I will host another webinar
Multiple
next week.
people are now exiting.
I'll host another webinar next week, and I'll give you information about that. Thank you.
Hey, Damien.
Mr. Sweeney.
Go ahead.
On the first slide, you have my last name spelled wrong.
Is now exiting.
If people want to get in touch with me, on the first slide, my name is spelled wrong. My last name, not my first name.
Multiple people are now exiting.
In the chat box?
Yeah, definitely.
Multiple people are now exiting.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
I'm having trouble accessing the chat box.
You're having trouble what?
Is now exiting.
Accessing the
Multiple
chat
people
portion.
are now exiting.
Okay.
It's
You
not
should be
showing
able
up.
to.
Crystal Cochran.
You should
Is
be able to
now
see it on
exiting.
the left-hand side.
Megan Kelly.
On the upper left-hand
now
side, at least that's
exiting.
where it is for me. Is that where you're seeing it, Kate, for you?
Is now exiting.
The chat box?
Multiple people are now
I also
exiting.
don't have a chat box.
Multiple
and I was wondering
people are
what
now
to do about
exiting.
that.
On my screen, if I move my mouse, I can see a little icon that looks like a conversation bubble. And if I hit that conversation bubble, the chat will pop open. Do you see that on your screen?
Is now exiting.
I do, but the chat does not pop open.
I wonder if you have a pop-up blocker on your computer that's preventing it.
Is now exiting.
I'll tell you what, I'll capture everything in the
Multiple
chat box.
people
And
are
whenever
now
we do our
exiting.
email, whenever I follow up with an email,
Sarah Aiken.
I
Is now
will
exiting.
send you the PDF of this presentation, and
Faith
then also
Is now
the
exiting.
chat box.
Okay, I was just needing the Google survey. That way I could get my ELA hours.
Is now exiting.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll send that.
Multiple people
If
are
you want
now
to pull up,
exiting.
if you want to just put back the hyperlink that you had pulled up earlier, I don't care to type it in myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Damien, I have a question.
Yeah.
The hashtag you gave,
Yeah.
the apostrophe, it ends the hashtag once
Unknown
you,
participant is now exiting.
the we're all in it together
Yeah.
for
Bridget
kids.
Adams.
Is now exiting. Multiple people are now exiting.
Is that
Pamela
an
Herford.
active- Pardon?
Is now exiting.
What do you say,
Unknown
Kate?
participant is now exiting.
Is that an active hashtag, or you're going to start it from here on? When I
We'll
dropped
start
it,
it from here on out.
Fletcher.
Is now exiting.
pardon?
We'll start it from here on out.
Okay, I think you might have to drop the contraction for it to work.
Okay. You think it's going to have to be we are?
That or just, yeah, it'll be grammatically wrong if you just do WERE. I think hashtags don't
Dawn
recognize that.
Roseberry.
Is now exiting.
Okay.
So just if you could keep us posted on that, because I'm from Boone County and I want all our counselors putting their stuff on there
Is
as well.
now exiting.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks so much.
Thanks for the
Great
information.
webinar.
All right, any further questions, comments?
So
Nicole
Teresa
Field,
is
can you-
gonna
Is
send
now
out an
exiting.
email.
Dr. Sweeney, this is Nicole Fields. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's up, future Dr. Fields?
Hey, so I'm having difficulties myself trying to get to the.
Multiple people are now exiting.
I am driving, watching this on
Unknown
my
participant is now
my
exiting.
phone's a hotspot, so I
Yeah.
can't like stop. So I don't know how I can get the Google link to do the end, so I can get the ELA credit. So I don't know if that's something you're gonna send directly to us, the ones that's on there, or
Just email me separately. I can't send it in a mass email,
okay.
but I can send it separately for sure.
All right, I definitely will do that. Just give me a little bit before I can get to my house, and then I'll send you email.
All good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate everybody participating. Joe, Kate, Michelle, Kim, and Troy. Thank you. Thank everybody else for your patience with the technology today. Thanks. Have a great day.
Angela Sowers.
Is now exiting. Multiple people are 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 now exiting.
Kelly Fisher.
Is now exiting.
Christina Dalton.
Is now exiting.
Allison Bays.
is now exiting.